forward to our second paper for the session, which is delivered by Sanah, who's joined us. Hi, Sanah. Sanah has pre-recorded her paper, so I am reliably informed that our admin team will ensure that that is now played. But as I say, Sanah is here to take your questions thereafter. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sanah Javed. I'm a final year law student from School of Law, Christ University, India. And today I will be presenting on the topic of technology fostering accessibility to legal education. Technology helps access legal education not just for law students, but also for the general population. In my presentation, I will be restricting the domain to India and how technology can help access legal education in India. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Why is accessibility to legal education important? There exists a justice gap in India. The justice gap refers to the inability on the part of the citizens to gain access to legal services. It is stated that in order to bridge this justice gap, efforts have been made, such as introducing the concept of justice in the preamble to the Constitution, or justice, social, economic, and political. Also introducing Article 39A to the Indian Constitution, which states that legal aid must be available to all citizens. The following efforts have been remarkable, however, have not been sufficient. In 2019, the Indian Justice Report was released. According to the report, which did a quantitative assessment of the 4 pillars of the justice system, police, judiciary, prison, and legal aid, showed that in a total of 14,161 legal clinics were available across 600,000 villages. The following is drastically lesser than the 2011 regulations mandate that required one legal clinic to be set up in every village. Further, even before access to legal aid can be facilitated, access to legal education is important in order to make the citizens aware that their dispute is a dispute of legal nature and has a potential legal solution. Unless individuals are aware of their rights and responsibilities, they will not be able to access legal aid. Further, accessibility to legal education is important for law students. However, this access must go beyond the curriculum and the syllabus that is taught in law schools. Law students have an obligation to provide public services and improve accessibility to social justice for the general population. And that's why it is important that they understand and access legal education. There exist certain barriers to accessibility. Firstly, geographic barriers. 3/4 of the Indian population still resides in rural areas. There exist multiple infrastructure and geographic barriers to accessing legal education. Further, linguistic barriers. In India, over 19,500 languages are spoken. However, legal education is dispersed mainly in English, which is not a local language, hence increasing the barrier to accessing legal knowledge. Third, the stagnant curriculums and approaches that are taken by law schools throughout the country demonstrates a barrier to accessing legal education. The same concepts that were taught over a decade ago may not be relevant now. Further, a fundamental change has been brought in by technological developments in other fields that need to be addressed by the legal curriculum. And finally, the responsibility lies on law students to bridge the justice gap. Law schools do not have a responsibility to merely educate law students, but also to educate the general population of their legal rights and responsibilities. Technology is a potential solution. It is stated that technology is not the sole solution that can bring in accessibility to legal education. However, it does formulate a fundamental part of the larger project of facilitating accessibility. Resistance to technology, as has been witnessed in the stream, causes more harm than access to than involving technology in accessing education does. Further, the increasing use of technology in the field, such as in e-filing, virtual arbitrations, virtual hearings, or the increased use of AI, shows that technology is a potential and feasible solution that can be brought in order to increase accessibility to legal education. Further, various technological fields have advanced, which have requirements of legal developments and require a regulatory framework to govern those technological developments. When that happens, essentially an intersectionality between law and technology takes place, and hence both fields can no longer remain parallel to each other and there must be essentially be interference and use of the developments that take place in technology in law and that take place in law in technology. The current scenario in the legal field, the Indian legal field has, for the most part, remained apprehensive of the developments of technology and to use technological solutions in order to solve a majority of its problems. Even today, the system is majoritarily paper-based and does not rely on technology. This has facilitated the administrative and procedural backlog and the docket explosion that is being faced by courts in India. It is suggested that an infrastructure and system-based change with the use of technology is essential. The COVID-19 pandemic has essentially forced the judiciary system to adopt technological solutions that it previously was not ready to do so. However, the following shows a potential solution to the already existing problems of administrative and procedural backlogs that existed before the pandemic. Importance of incorporating technology in the legal field. Technology provides a lot of benefits, such as accessing a greater population within a limited time frame, increasing efficiency and system changes that previously were not available due to the human resource and paper-based mechanisms. Thirdly, keeping up with technological developments in other streams. Technology has touched almost every aspect of our life. And the legal stream staying away from technological developments essentially hinders the growth of technology and the growth of this new technology lifestyle. Further, as was previously mentioned, we now stand at an intersection between law and various other streams such as technology. And it would be foolish not to incorporate technology in the legal stream to solve majority of its problems. Technology and legal education. The various ways in which technology is currently being used in legal education is through distance learning programs. Distance learning programs provide law students with a great advantage in learning and acquiring legal education at their own pace with their providing them flexibility in understanding the legal concepts or accessing the legal knowledge, which was previously not facilitated as much in practical learning or in a physical setup. Translation, as was previously mentioned, in India, over 19,000 languages are spoken, and whereas legal education is mainly dispersed in English. Translation, which is facilitated through technology, helps a diverse group of students that speak multiple languages access legal education and not face a language barrier. Legal databases both Indian developed such as Manupatra and Lexis and SEC Online and foreign developed such as Heim Online or JSTOR provide access to a diverse set of resources that previously were limited to, let's say, the physical publications of resources. Teaching practical aspects, as we have seen, technology is being incorporated and will further be incorporated in the legal stream. facilitating things like virtual arbitration or virtual hearings and e-filing mechanisms. It is important that law students be equipped with the technological knowledge necessary in order to do well in these practical aspects of the legal field. Further self-study and moving beyond the curriculum, the legal databases and the access to a large number of resources due to technology provides students the opportunity to self-study and move beyond the curriculum. As has been previously mentioned, the increased accessibility due to technology helps in accessing a wider number of resources, access to greater opportunities. Access to greater opportunities refers to the access to a multiple number of webinars and lectures that take place online. After the COVID crisis, multiple MOOCs and online courses have come up and have been facilitated by various universities, providing law students the opportunity to enhance their knowledge. Further participation is consistent and more involved. It is stated that the online classrooms, even though are taught to be not as participatory as physical classrooms, it is seen that through mechanisms such as exit quizzes or such as Google Classroom quizzes or mandatory assignments, makes obliges the law student to have a more consistent and involved participation in the e-classroom than was there in the physical classroom. Increases equality in access. Students have varied socio-economic backgrounds. By providing access online or providing e-classrooms, it is seen that students that previously faced physical or geographic barriers no longer face those barriers and are provided access to legal education on an equal footing as other students are. To the general population, increasing the knowledge and reducing reliance on legal aid can be facilitated by providing legal education through technology. Also, affordability. The legal services are known to be expensive and not affordable to a large group of people. Once legal education is enhanced by the use of technology, it facilitates lesser reliance on legal services, making the system more affordable. Further, this brings about social change. When people are educated about their legal rights and responsibilities, the inequalities that exist in society are reduced greatly. Nudge due to the pandemic. The pandemic has facilitated a large number of changes in the legal system in general and the legal education system specifically. In the legal system, concepts such as e-filing, virtual hearing, virtual arbitration, and client-lawyer communication. So the e-filing system, which previously wasn't as advanced, has become a reality because of the necessity during the COVID-19 pandemic. Virtual hearings and virtual arbitrations are now a fundamental process of the legal system. Also, states such as Kerala and Bombay High Courts have developed applications that facilitate live streaming of virtual hearings. This provides the judiciary with greater transparency and helps involve a larger number of people in the justice process, which is essential. Further, arbitration and client-lawyer communications that previously took place in a physical setup and now take place online and meets the convenience of both the client and lawyer or all the parties involved in an arbitration process. Changes in the legal education system. We have essentially moved to an e-classroom setup. It has become the norm. This greatly increases the access to e-resources and to distance learning and MOOCs. Platforms such as edX and Coursera provide multiple courses on their platforms by esteemed universities, helping law students self-study and go beyond what is taught in their law school or their curriculum. Hence, there exists a greater pool of resources such as webinars and externships efforts have been made in the legal field to make access to as many resources for free as possible, and the following greatly benefits the law school community in general. What is the way forward? It is acknowledged that technology is not a one-stop solution, that it is however, it is a key component of a larger project, as it enhances efficiency both in courts and outside. It closes the justice gap and increases the opportunities for law students. It is stated that technology, even after the COVID-19 pandemic, when it is not an absolute necessity, must be treated as an integral part of the legal system. Things like witness hearing, live streaming of proceedings, virtual ADR sessions, and client-lawyer communication help in reducing the costs that are usually associated with making these legal developments possible. Further, in the legal education setup, e-classrooms, recording classroom content for further reference, and e-resources is essential. Teaching technology in law schools is also a fundamental step that needs to be taken, considering how technology will play an impactful role in the legal profession. Also, technology must be used to go beyond law students and provide access to a greater group of people that depend upon legal aid or depend upon law schools or the legal field to improve their accessibility to justice. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure presenting for this conference.
Thank you very much indeed, Sanah. So delegates, our colleague Sanah joins us now. Sanah joins us as a final year law student from the Christ University in India. Thank you for a fascinating paper there, Sanah. So could I ask delegates to get questions in once again through the chat channel, and whilst we're awaiting those to appear, I'll just get things started. It's a really interesting thing that you started with, this concept of social justice and the gap, if you will, between the ability of the legal system to provide that social justice. And it just got me thinking whether in time, you know, we'll be talking instead about digital justice as a concept. Because it's really interesting that you open your abstract even with that quote of the technology is here to stay. You know, these are the barriers, these are the challenges that every legal system is going to have to step up to in time.
Yeah, hi Emma, thank you for your question. So as you said, digital education is something, and digital access to justice is something that's very important. So previously, the Indian Supreme Court did not have even the e-filing system, for example. The advocates would have to file their case online, and then the corrections would be given, and then they would have to correct the corrections and then file it physically again, essentially rendering the e-filing system useless. However, after the pandemic has come in, it's become a necessity that all procedure takes place online. And it's forced the court to understand that there is a lot of benefit that one can get from digitalizing the legal process entirely. And also, as you said, that there does exist a justice gap, and a lot of people don't understand how they can access legal aid. And before they even access legal aid, they need to understand that it is a legal problem, and for that they need the education, which I think the burden lies on law schools and law students to provide the general population with this education, and technology is a great way to do so.
Excellent, thank you very much, Sanah. My second question, and the way I got to think about this, because as well as you'll see shortly with my own paper, my fascination with kind of grounding students in skills from the very beginning, equipping them for developing those skills throughout their degrees. I'm also particularly fond of working actively with information literacy and embedding not only just the ability to find and evaluate resources onto the curriculum, but the use of those as well. And you spoke about the move to using e-resources in the wake of COVID, and how perhaps these provisions are now available that they weren't before, or certainly that bank has expanded. And I just wonder if we're talking about a digital world where, yes, we probably do have this concept of digital justice already, and that there is a gap in that digital justice isn't being answered because of infrastructure or cost or other affordability issues along the way. I wonder if law schools stepping up and providing greater e-resources is enough, because, you know, being able to use e-resources seems to me to be something that we should have already been achieving to get to the digital world that we're in now, whereby we should be doing so much more on the curriculum by now to be able to equip our students who will be graduating in 3 years in some jurisdictions, in 6 years in others. And I don't know. I know, I'm aware that globally we have expanded our e-resources, and by e-resources, you know, the publishers have stepped up and they've made much more open material, open access material available, and so on. But my question is, Sanah, from a student perspective, it would be really interesting for me to hear whether you view that to be enough.
So I understand your concern. We should have done this a long time ago, and it's not sufficient considering how we've advanced so much technologically right now. This is just a very preliminary access that we get to e-resources, and a lot more can be done. So I understand that law schools then like solely can't be responsible for this, but and that there should be a policy change, or the legal education system or the governments that look into the legal education system need to develop new policy frameworks. But the burden does lie on the primary stakeholders, that's law students, law teachers, and the law school. And I believe changes are being made, such as including newer subjects. Like, for example, in my university, we now have cyber law, e-commerce, and a few other new technology-based subjects as core subjects. So they're compulsory and all students take them. Whereas previously they were merely voluntary subjects. You could take them or you could take something else. So I think there is a development and a push toward technologically advancing law students, though more can be done, as you rightly pointed out.
Yeah, and as I say, again, interesting that we've come to this point of discussion, because it's another element of my paper that for time I wasn't able to focus into greater detail. A bit like the question I posed to Dr. Andoff, in saying we've got law and technology on the one hand, but then we have digital legal education, which is a distinct thing. And I think they both need to come together in order to be able to upskill our graduates and prepare them for that digital working market in that many years, because actually that market is already at that stage. And I wonder, as legal educators, we're not quite there to be able to equip our students to be appropriate candidates for such a marketplace.
So as a law student, I would obviously like to see more done. And I think policy changes are being made, though, as you said, that more can be done.
Yes, excellent. Thank you ever so much, Sanah. Thank you ever so much for your readiness to answer those questions. Again, I will ask delegates, we do have time, so if there are any more questions to Sanah, especially those of you who, like myself, want to capitalise on getting a captive audience of a student perspective in terms of developing our curriculum in respect of law and technology and digital legal education. So do get your questions in. We have got a couple of minutes to go yet. I think for my part, Sanah, in the wake of COVID, it just struck me whilst I was busying myself thinking about ways of continuing with my plans, as you'll hear in just a second, of embedding digital literacy onto the curriculum. It occurred to me most quickly that actually we can't ignore this elephant in the room that has been the kind of cultural shift in the legal system across the world in terms of COVID. And so my module on introducing the legal system and so on has to now touch upon all those things that you talk about there, about virtual courtroom sessions, digital ADR and so on, because that is the way of the future, isn't it? I mean, that technology has been there, and perhaps we haven't done enough with it from an educational perspective, nor from a legal perspective. And I think it's one of those things that we've gone that far now, and we're not going to be coming back.
I completely agree with you, and I'm looking forward to what you have to say on the issue and how policymakers and law teachers are doing their part in bringing through this digital literacy.
Excellent. Thank you ever so much, Sanah, once again.